Welcome to the Performance Management and Appraisal lesson, Section 3, in the Organizational Development Curriculum. In the Performance Management lesson, Section 1 on Performance Management and Section 2, Defining the Process, we discussed the performance management process, its benefits, and key steps. Now, let's take a look at an example and demonstration of a specific performance appraisal tool and how a supervisor completes the appraisal. Maybe your organization already has a performance appraisal tool, or maybe you are working on your performance appraisal process. Regardless, the appraisal tool you use may change over time to suit your organization's needs and circumstances. The tool in this demonstration is not perfect, but we selected it because it is a simple tool that does not require much time or extra paperwork. This appraisal form is very adaptable and can be used as a starting point, then customized to suit your organization's needs. If you already have a performance management process and appraisal form, this demonstration may provide some additional ideas or perspectives for you to consider. A copy of the performance appraisal tool used in this demonstration can be found in the resources for this lesson. Developing a performance management system is a process itself. The first iteration is rarely perfect. Still, it is important to start somewhere and then adjust as needed. When you implement a new performance management tool or process, try it for a full year. At the end of the year, you will have information to evaluate what works and what does not, and then change the tool or process accordingly. In this demonstration, we're going to look at the performance review for a staff member, Rana, as completed by her administrative supervisor, Gwen. Rana has worked in the position of Clinical Services Manager for a little more than a year, and Gwen is the Director of Clinical Services. To begin the process, Gwen and Rana will review Rana's job description to be sure it is still accurate. Rana is responsible for overseeing certain clinical programs and supervising program staff. She is based in Capital City at the organization's main office, and her primary supervisor, Gwen, is also located in Capital City. However, Rana also works on projects and oversees clinical operations at 2 other locations in the country, where she is responsible to the managing directors for those offices. Rana's job is about 40% managing the clinical services program, overseeing services and coordination of care, and managing an integrated care planning process. 25% supervising and training for a staff of 7 people, coordinating their schedules, assignments, and training. 25% clinic management, overseeing clinic operations at the main office and 2 additional clinics, and ensuring client records and monitoring and evaluation efforts are met. And finally, 10% coordinating reporting on clinical, training, and outreach activities. At the start of the year, Gwen and Rana reviewed the organization's work plans and priorities for the year. At a high level, the organization's major goals and objectives for the year were to mitigate the impact of trauma and facilitate recovery through improved integration and coordination of client care across disciplines, social work, psychotherapy, and physical therapy. This would involve assessing and developing or updating service delivery models and documenting processes. Improve employee retention and capabilities through training and development of specific needed skills. Develop community involvement and increase partnerships with other humanitarian organizations, and secure a 10% increase in funding for the next biennium from government and international organizations, in part by being able to demonstrate the value of the organization's work. The first objective relates very directly to Rana's role because her responsibilities include establishing a consistent integrated care planning process for psychotherapy and social work, and introducing the process at the 3 clinic sites. As a supervisor and trainer, Rana also has responsibilities related to the organization's second objective: improve employee retention and capabilities. Also, though she is not directly involved in fundraising, Rana oversees certain management and reporting responsibilities in areas related to client care. So, she plays a role in the organization's ability to achieve the last objective. Using these goals and Rana's job description, Rana and Gwen work together to create Rana's individual work plan for the year. Remember, an individual usually has 3 to 5 work plan objectives, each with its own supports and indicators that are used to measure progress toward the objective. If the employee works on multiple projects, he or she may have a few additional objectives to cover all of the critical areas of the job. As you write objectives, try to focus on objectives that are as observable and fact-based as possible. For each objective, consider what outcomes or measurements will demonstrate whether the objective is achieved, and identify timelines. Last year, Gwen and Rana agreed on the following work plan objectives for Rana. Objective 1. Establish an integrated care planning process and implement the process at the 3 sites. The indicators or outcomes used to measure Rana's success with this objective are that she completes documentation of that integrated care process, and that the documentation materials and training are rolled out to the teams at each of the 3 clinic sites. Key dates or timeframes for these indicators are: the documentation should be completed by July, and the training and rollout of the process scheduled for October and November. Objective 2 was for Rana to attend the Conference on Integrated Care in Capital City and, as part of her staff training and support responsibilities, to bring learning from that conference back to her clinic teams. Again, those outcomes and indicators, attending the conference and conducting the training, were written into the work plan along with planned dates and timeframes. Rana's third objective relates to her clinic management responsibilities. The objective is to ensure completeness of client records and support the organization's monitoring and evaluation efforts. She is to oversee the clinic management systems and ensure proper use of procedures and documentation by clinic staff. Progress is measured in terms of what percentage of client records are fully completed in the system, and how well staff comply with the policy of entering all client record information and updates within 5 days of any client intake, visit, or other event. The progress is tracked in quarterly and monthly reports and compared at the end of the year with the previous year's numbers. The fourth objective is to provide timely reporting on data collection, M&D-related data, and progress toward program objectives for the 3 clinics. Remember, reporting is another of Rana's job responsibilities, so indicators include sending specific program reports and site reports to the Director of Clinical Services, site directors, and the Executive Director. She also completes relevant sections of the organization's quarterly report. Each of these reports has a deadline and timeframes noted in the work plan. Finally, Rana's last objective is to provide supervision to a team of 7 staff, including schedule and assignment coordination, ongoing supervisory feedback and mentoring, annual performance reviews, and self-care support. Her planned outcomes and timelines include conducting monthly informal check-ins with each staff member she supervises, and completing performance reviews for each staff member within 2 months of the individual's employment anniversary. Throughout the year, Rana and Gwen checked in regularly to discuss progress and issues. For the most part, things have gone well, and those check-ins helped Rana stay focused on her key objectives. Now that Rana has come to the end of her first performance review period, Gwen must prepare for Rana's performance appraisal. She evaluates Rana's performance over the last year against her objectives for that year. Gwen follows her organization's performance appraisal form and process. Remember, the process is: first, Gwen sends a copy of the appraisal form to Rana and asks her to complete a self-evaluation. Then, Rana should fill out the form, including any comment required or that she thinks will clarify her evaluation. Rana submits her self-evaluation to Gwen. Next, as Rana's supervisor, Gwen fills out a copy of the form, assessing Rana's performance and providing her own ratings. To ensure that she has a full picture of Rana's work, especially in the 2 remote clinics, Gwen checks with the clinic directors at those 2 clinics and with other colleagues who work closely with Rana, such as members of Rana's team. Then, Gwen and Rana meet to discuss Rana's performance and the ratings. They will discuss what went well and what needs improvement. They address any important discrepancies between their ratings. They also make a performance plan for the following year, including an annual staff development plan and, if needed, a performance improvement plan. For convenience, the sample performance appraisal tool we are using also lists these steps on the first page of the form. Now, let's follow along as Gwen fills out Rana's performance appraisal form. As she fills out this form, Gwen must rate Rana's performance on the work objectives, copied from Rana's last work plan, as well as several work behaviors. Gwen also provides comments on some of these ratings. Remember, it is important to focus on the specific, observable behaviors and measurable indicators, and to avoid subjective judgments wherever possible. This performance appraisal tool uses a 4-point rating scale. A 4 indicates the person's performance exceeds expectations. This means that the person does more than just what is required. She goes above and beyond what is expected, or she is particularly strong in this objective or behavior. 3 means consistently meets expectations. This rating means the person is a good, solid performer. For an employee who is generally fulfilling his or her job requirements, this will be the most common rating. 4s, 1s, and 2s are reserved for areas where the individual is exceptionally strong or areas that need work. A rating of 2 means sometimes meets expectations, needs improvement. Having a 2 among the ratings on the form does not mean the person is a bad employee. A staff member may be a good employee, even have exceptional skills and ratings of 4 in some areas, but still have areas where she needs improvement. Finally, 1 indicates unsatisfactory. This rating means that the individual is not meeting expectations or requirements in this particular area. Improvement is necessary. With this appraisal tool, a rating of 4, 2, or 1 requires comments. The supervisor uses the comments field to explain the rating. Also, if an area is rated as unsatisfactory, 1, or needs improvement, 2, the supervisor and employee must create a performance improvement plan for that objective in the appropriate section of the form. We will address that in a few minutes. Scrolling down, we come to Section 1, Agreed Objectives. Note that the work objectives and indicators from the work plan should be entered before the employee receives the form for her self-assessment and before the supervisor gives feedback. As Rana's supervisor, Gwen now rates Rana's performance toward each of these objectives. She considers specific, observable, and measurable behaviors and outcomes. Gwen rates Rana a 3 on those objectives where she is consistently meeting expectations. But she also believes Rana has exceeded expectations on objectives 1 and 2, and she gives those ratings a 4. Gwen provides specific evidence of how she feels Rana has exceeded expectations in terms of the integrated care planning process and bringing learning and training back to other staff. There is also one objective on which Rana's performance needs improvement. On Objective 4, the reporting objective, Gwen gave a rating of 2. Again, Gwen provides specific, measurable information about the way in which Rana's performance fell below expectations. Remember, ratings of 1, 2, or 4 require comments to help explain the rating. You may also include comments for ratings of 3, but it is not required. Also, the comments section is a place to acknowledge barriers outside the employee's control that may have affected the employee's work toward the objective. The next section of the form addresses expected work behaviors. These work behaviors are based in the values and mission of your organization. Work behaviors are global for the organization. They are expected of everyone and are not specific to a particular job or person. In this section, the Indicators and Evidence section provides the opportunity to tailor these expectations to different job levels or types of jobs. Consider what observable criteria are appropriate to the type of job and job level. Once again, Rana receives several 3s, consistently meets expectations, in this section. However, Gwen does rate Rana a 4 on one of the behaviors and a 2 on another. For these ratings, Gwen completes the comments section. She describes how Rana exceeds expectations on the behaviors dedicated to supporting the organization's mission around integrated client care and promoting healing. She also addresses how Rana needs to improve on the behavior consistently meets deadlines. The third area of the form is the Annual Staff Development Plan. As we've discussed in other lessons and lesson sections, ongoing development is an important part of the performance management process. To acknowledge that, this performance review tool includes a place to enter annual development goals and development activities for the upcoming review period. Consider your environment and the resources available. What realistically can the individual do to build ongoing learning? This may vary between organizations in terms of formality and types of activities. In this case, Gwen and Rana agree that a good development goal for Rana is to continue building her knowledge and expertise on issues of integrated care. Integrated care is currently an important issue for the organization and its funders. If Rana can become an internal expert on these matters, her analysis and recommendations can be valuable to the executive team and help guide strategy and policy. Gwen and Rana also agree on specific development activities Rana will do to help reach this development goal. She will review literature on integrated care models and prepare a presentation for the executive team. They also set a date by which Rana should achieve the development goal. Gwen uses the comment section to fill in other information that is relevant to this development plan. To help Rana achieve this development goal, the organization is willing to give her 30 hours away from her regular job duties to work on these activities. The fourth section on the form is the Performance Improvement Plan. If any objective was rated a 1 or a 2, a performance improvement plan is needed. If all objectives were rated either 3 or 4, you do not need to complete this section of the form. Recall that Rana received a rating of 2 on objective number 4, timely reporting on data collection, M&D data, and progress toward program goals. This is entered under the heading Objective Needing Improvement. Under the heading Expected Performance, the supervisor describes what specific steps must be taken, what change must be observed, and how the supervisor and employee will follow up to ensure the improvement happens. They will also set a deadline by which the performance needs to improve. In this case, Gwen has given Rana a specific, measurable goal in terms of reporting deadlines, instructions on expected behavior, and a plan to revisit the matter in several months. In the final section of the form, overall performance rating, the spreadsheet will automatically tabulate the ratings and give the average score. Note that in this example, each of the objective and work behaviors are weighted equally. It may be that, in your organization, some objectives or work behaviors are more important than others. If so, you may wish to adjust the formula so that those ratings count for more. In this section, there is also a place for overall comments on workplace behaviors and performance. This is an opportunity to summarize the performance appraisal and share additional comments. It is recommended that you enter some overall comment here, as Gwen did for Rana. After the performance review meeting, Gwen makes any necessary changes for the final version. Both Gwen and Rana sign off on the final evaluation and performance improvement plan. Gwen provides a copy of the final evaluation to Rana and a second copy to personnel records. Reflect on the form and process. How is it similar to or different from what your organization currently includes in performance reviews? What can you take away from this form? Pause for a moment here to write down or discuss a few thoughts. In summary, the specific performance appraisal tool you use, the review meeting, performance improvement planning, and development planning are important elements in the performance review process. Performance appraisal tools may change over time to suit the needs of an organization and its changing circumstances. A new appraisal tool is rarely perfect the first time you use it, but try giving a new tool or new changes a full year to evaluate whether revisions are needed.